Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, everybody? How in the world are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, and I'm here once again, rocking it out and cooking in the kitchen of another heaping serving of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, coming at you live all the way over in Wheaton, Maryland, over at the greatest place that I know. Yeah, that's right. It's the studio. That's right. For all those that want to know, it's the studio, and I can't believe that I'm here once again in the studio, and it's great. You know, the prototype studio is awesome. Y'all should come down and check it out. If you're wondering where it is, Wheaton, Maryland from Washington, D.C. is not far, depending on where you are. It probably could be like 20 minutes or so forth. If you're ever in the neighborhood, stop by and say hello. Like, hey, I just wanted to see the prototype studio. And I'm like, all right, cool. How you doing? So here we are, you know, and it's great. 2025. Hey, it's a new year and a new start, folks. You know, whatever happened last year, that was last year. This is this year. You know what I mean? So let's start the new year right. You know, let's get focused. Let's, you know, bring in the good energy, you know, breathe in the good energy, exhale out the bad. And just remember, you know, this is the beginning now of the new year. So, you know, there's a lot of days that we can make up to, you know, end it on a good note. But this is the beginning. Just like in martial arts, it's the beginning. You know, just like when you earn your first degree black belt, it's just the beginning. When you start to become a new student in the martial arts school, when you walk in the door, it's a new beginning. It's a new chapter. And I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for a lot of reasons. Now, like I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of texts. They're saying, Kim, we love you. We appreciate you. But the fact that you need in the big word is need to interview more people. And I got the emails. I read the emails. I read the private messages on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. And you know what? You guys were right. You guys are right. And you know what? I took that definitely into consideration. And because it's a new season, we're doing it. We're doing it. And here we are at this very moment in time, because, ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, I want to go ahead and bring this gentleman out. He is my guest of the episode today. There are many accolades that this gentleman has. I mean, you know, let's just go down the list. He is a 9th degree Grandmaster in the art of Tong Sudo, who's also trained in Taekwondo. He is also an actor, be it that he was in a movie that is now streaming on Tubi, I know that. Fossum, I know that. Or if you want to buy the movie, it's on Amazon Prime Video. It's called Killer X. It's a great movie. This man, I also remember seeing him. He was on the cover of Taekwondo Times magazine, and he actually made it in their Hall of Fame, which is very impressive. And today we have him here. We're going to talk a little bit about, you know, him, you know, his background, you know, where, you know, kind of like where he grew up, you know, the martial arts. Obviously, we're going to talk about Killer X and him actually going in from the martial arts to the art of acting and a whole lot more. I'm very excited about this one, guys, because I feel like, you know, for the first time, I'm testing for the new belt. You know, I'm not even a black belt. I'm testing for the new belt. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have him. Grandmaster Jose Luis Torres II is here. Sir, it is an honor for you to be here with us. Tong Su, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Kim. I'm doing well. Tong Su, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And, you know, it's, you know, I understand right off the bat that you're an East Coaster.
I am an East Coaster. That's right. I'm only a little bit of a distance from you. If you said you're in Maryland, D.C., that's not too far from me.
No. You're over in New Jersey, from what I understand.
Yep. Yep. About 25 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, nice. I love Philadelphia. I didn't know how far away that you were, but 25 minutes outside of it, that's actually not bad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not bad.
Close to the city.
Nice. Well, let's start from the beginning. Like, were you like born and raised in New Jersey? Were you been in New Jersey all your life, or were you actually born in another state?
So my mother and father are from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
My father's from Ponce, and my mother from Jalco. And I was not born in Puerto Rico. I was born here in the U.S. At Fort Dix military base,
Okay.
and forever been in New Jersey, man. I born and raised, and my parents kind of moved around as they were, kind of establishing their family, and we lived in an apartment, humble beginnings, food stamps, stuff like that, and then kind of went on and ended up getting a house, and we moved to Edgewater Park, New Jersey, which is in South Jersey, and I
Oh,
still reside there today.
okay. Okay. Well, coming up before, the martial arts and everything, obviously, we grew up just, trying to find ourselves and so forth. I mean, did you ever find yourself as a person that was like, an outgoing person? Were you a shy person? Were you a person that was like very athletic? I mean, where were you at that scope in time?
It's funny. I feel like my world has come full circle.
Mm,
When I was a kid, I was bullied. I went to Catholic school. I had terrible experience. Like I want to forget that time. I have like post-traumatic syndrome from,
Oh
being a
no.
kid, bullied, made fun of.
Right.
Again, I didn't have the nicest stuff. I didn't. Again, humble beginnings with my parents, and I went to this Catholic school. They afforded to send me there, and I went. And I got to tell you, man, first 4 years were miserable. I didn't have any friends, and I was bullied. And then as I got older, they pulled me out of the Catholic school, and I went back to the public school system,
Ah.
and still kind of, finding myself and making friends and things of that nature. And I didn't get involved with sports till very late. I was like fourth grade, if I remember correctly. But
Mm,
prior to that, I got involved in martial arts. I got involved in martial arts when I was like 5, 6. My mom put me into it, and I was like clumsy at first, man. I was terrible. I had a hard time learning the hyungs. They called them in Tong Sudo, and
right. Young's. Yeah.
yeah. And it took me a little bit of time to get my first belt. But it was like right around like green belt, red belt, it really started clicking for me. And then I wanted to compete, and then I won my first trophy, and I was like, oh, I like this. And I
Yeah.
just keep continuing, and I kind of built my confidence. And then the martial arts transitioned into the other things I was doing. And I would say I was probably a late bloomer. I got involved with sports a little bit later. Had a pretty decent high school career, and then actually got recruited for soccer. Going to college, I did not go to college and play, but I went to college just for my academics. And but kind of a late bloomer, I would say.
Right on. At what point in your life, because you said that you started training formally in the martial arts when you were 5 years old, do you remember before training what was that one pivotal moment that you were like, hey, I just discovered the martial arts and it looks cool? Like, did you see like a specific like a TV show that had a martial arts fight scene? Was it like a martial arts movie that kind of got you inspired? What was the one that kind of bit you and gave you that martial arts bug?
It's funny. I want to say in the early '80s it was big. Canon Films. Was popping out the American Ninjas and the Chuck
Yes.
Norrises and all that,
Yes.
and all those guys. Van Damme. Van Damme was kind of my Bruce Lee at that time. Because again, I didn't grow up, in the early '70s, but
Hmm.
Van Damme was kind of my guy. But the Canon films were something. My grandfather, I remember that was when VHS tapes, and they would go
Yes.
and them,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And I remember when we would go over to my grandfather's house, he would say, "Oh, Jose, look at this, look at this, look at this guy, look at this guy." And I
Right.
remember, Michael Dudikoff and some of these other guys, American Ninja, and I would try to like jump off the couch and do a kick or swing stuff around my head. So my mom would see that, and she'd be like, "You know what? I got to get this kid into karate before he breaks my, And again, at that time we had an apartment, so she was like, "I got to get him involved in something before he hurts himself." So
Right. Right.
we ended up signing up at a local a Tong Sudo school, Hamilton Karate, and I trained there for like 20 plus years. Yeah, I was with him for a long time.
Wow. What was it like, like the training like way back in the day? Because obviously, like I've asked this about many people, including most recently Daryl Vidal of
Okay.
the Karate Kid, the
Sure.
OG there. So shout out to Mr. Vidal. You set it off with the first Karate Kid.
Yep.
I actually asked him this question and I said, everybody had a different training method, in the different eras because, people who trained in the 60s, it was a little bit different than, let's say, people who trained in the 70s. And then people who trained in the 80s, it was different than how people trained in the 90s. So what was your training like, way back in the day?
It's funny because I remember and thinking of the stuff that we used to go through then. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do half of that stuff now. You know what I mean? You're not hitting people with bamboo swords, and you're not fighting with no gear. It was a different time then. But I tell you, I felt like we were just a harder martial arts trained student at that time. You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember we point sparred. I remember going to my first tournament, I had never put point sparring gear on because that's not how we fought in school.
Right.
In karate school, we fought without gear. So I
Without
remember
gear. That's right.
I remember because June Reed just brought gear out in the 80s. So you put
That's
this
right.
June Reed gear on, you're like, what the hell is this? Like, this is weird. I don't like how this feels. I'm used to punching somebody.
Right.
It was just a different time, man. It was hard. It's funny because I do miss that, and I feel like that's what's kind of shaped me into the master that I am, with my students. But back then, I remember, man, you get hit if you didn't do something right. They pull the hair on the sides of your ear, your sides.
Yep. Yep.
I remember getting kicked, and you know, it was crazy, crazy time. It's funny as I remember we used to do kicking drills, and
Mm.
back then, some schools had the I don't even think they made pork chops or the paddles, the kicking paddles in the early 80s. They didn't come out till the 90s, if I remember correctly. But they used
Right.
to
Right. Right. Right.
leather mitts, like the leather mitts you would kick. Well, my school, we kicked antifreeze cans. So they would take
Oh.
antifreeze containers and they would empty them out. And that's how I swear there would be stacks of them, stacks of antifreeze. And you would
Oh.
literally they would hold it and you would literally hook kick those roundhouse, hook kick them, front kick them. And that's how we learned. Our feet were trained harder. I mean, we did that now. We probably have a lawsuit. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's how we did it then. And it's funny because I remember, man, and we used to get so excited as kids. And a lot of kids didn't train then, not that time. It's not like it is now in the 2000s, but when it was time and he was the instructor or one of the other black belt instructors reached over and grabbed a couple of those antifreeze cans. Oh my God, it was like a kid in Christmas. You know what I mean? You're
Oh.
ready to do full kicks. Yeah, yeah, yep.
Oh my goodness.
That's how I came up. That's how I came up.
No, that's a great story right there. I mean, everybody had their way coming up in the martial arts and training with whatever you had. So some people way back in the day didn't even have that. It was just like your target was your hand. So if you're going to hit the round kick, you better make sure that that flat part of your foot would hit the flat part of your partner's hand. So that way, it's just like it was accurate and it was on point. Otherwise, if you missed, shame on you,
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, did you ever feel like, before black belt, like it was kind of like a walk in the park for you when it came to your martial arts training? Or did you feel like there's definitely some challenges that I didn't know existed that I'm dealing with right now?
I feel as I told you, I felt I was clumsy in the beginning and I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand what was going on. It was movements, but I didn't understand because I was a kid. And then as I started progressing through the ranks, I started really kind of honing in and I said, man, I'm actually decent at this. I can kick pretty good. I do okay in tournaments. I'm a little bit better than most of the other kids in the class. And then I would start to fight the adults in the class and do self-defense with them. And I was as strong and I was able to do things. So it
Right.
started clicking to me. And I really try to say once I got like red belt, and then when I got my black belt, I really felt because at that time they didn't promote a lot of kids. Not in that mid 80s. They didn't do any of that stuff. You had to be like minimum 15 or sometimes 18, and they
Right.
would there was no 7-year-old black belts back then.
Right.
So but I remember was getting that had been my biggest accomplishment at that time was getting a black belt. I think I was like 11 or 12. And to me, I was like, walking in the sky. Yeah. What I mean? It was the greatest thing I'd ever done. And then it elevated me mentally where I wanted to train all the time to see how far I could go. And I went from, I think, training 3, 4 days a week to I was 5 days a week, never missed a class. I was doing double classes. Then I would train
Mm,
the kids class and then I would go to the adult class, stay
mm,
at karate school for 3. Nobody does that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like now you're lucky if you can get kids to train 2 days a week. But
yeah, yeah,
back then, that's what I had. That was me. That was my life, and it meant everything to go to the school and train and sweat. And I always wanted to try to be, the best that I could because I really, really, I wanted to emulate my instructor, William Hamilton. He was like a god to me, right? You know what I mean? He
yep,
was the greatest thing ever, which, it's so important, I think, for young men and students to have that person that you kind of look up to that's outside of your family. Obviously, you
right.
want to look to your fathers and your uncles and grandfathers, but having someone else that's not blood related, but you value them and you want to honor them with everything that you want to do. I think that really that shapes you as a young person. And I feel like that was kind of the big thing that changed me. And I think I still try to do that now. I want to emulate that. I want to inspire other students or other people to be
Yep.
the best version of themselves. And I think that's from what I did then to how it's manifested to where I am at now today.
For those that may not understand a little bit, like, you know, let's ask it in this sense. Um, how important is the mindset, going into training in the martial arts before earning a black belt, right up to the very point where you're either testing for that first degree black belt and beyond?
I think the mindset is, and I feel like everybody goes through this, especially again at a young age, right? Because again,
Mm-hmm.
my experience at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was much different than someone starting at 18 or 19. You're
Right.
still learning how your body is and how your movement. So the philosophy of it, I didn't understand. I didn't understand it then. I was just going through the motions. Wow, I can jump, I can do this, I can do that. But like I said, reaching that black belt level. I felt like you're like, okay, I'm starting to understand this now. And I feel
Mm.
like some people, when they get their black belt, and I think you see it a lot now on social media, especially, there's a lot of what they call, what is that, keyboard warriors or different things like that, where, right, they get a black belt, now they know everything. Where I felt as you got a black belt and now the training really starts. You know what I
Right.
mean? I felt like that was kind of how I felt. And that's how I've always been. I try to be you're a forever white belt. You're always learning. You learn from people. I'm learning from you today of, just speaking to you and watching, how you carry yourself on this interview and me growing as a person, and kind of, reacting to your comments and going back, building as a person. But I feel like you always keep learning. And I think that's, like I said, that's my vision and what I kind of took away from going to those different levels.
Absolutely. They also say too at the same time. I remember a big icon in the martial arts, Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef would say that each one teach one. And
Right.
I think that's very, very solid philosophy right there that I think that every martial artist should incorporate, especially like if you're at that black belt rank, each one teach one, because if you don't teach what you learned, then essentially it's like you didn't really learn too much.
Right, right, right. I think you always have to give back, and kind of help facilitate, again, the dojang or the dojo that you came up in.
Mm,
That's part of your family, that's helped you. So I really feel like, again, using what you're saying, Ron Van Cleef said, teach one, I think is very important because you have to give back, you got to
yes,
share,
sir.
you have to share, and you got to continue to grow, right? You don't want to become stagnant either.
Do you remember the first time that you actually entered your first tournament competition?
I do. So, you're gonna laugh. I do. I have two. It's crazy. I have two stories. So, my first competition I ever signed up for, I was a green belt, and we didn't do a lot of tournaments back then. But it was funny. I was so excited. I was pumped. I was ready to go. Bags were packed, ready to go. Went to bed early the night before. Everything was good. Woke up
Mm-hmm.
the morning sick. throwing up. I had a bet, and I wanted to go so bad. I remember I
Oh,
started crying, and my mom and dad were like, "No, we can't take you. You're sick." So that was my first. I remember, I never forgot that because I remember how heartbroken I was. So then I just trained hard for like literally the next full year, year and a half to my first tournament. My first tournament, I didn't start competing until I was a red belt. You know what I mean? So I missed all those beginner levels and everything else. And
yep.
I just remember I won a third place. I won a third place in, I think it was weapons, and a third place in forms. And and then I went into fighting, and at that time I thought I was good, right? You're like, oh, I could do this. It's just
Yep.
like the movies.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I go, you go, I go, you go, but
Right.
that's not how it is in karate tournaments. So I remember, I came in, I did my quick combination, and then the guy hit me. And I was like, oh, wait a second. He wasn't supposed to touch me. What happened? I
Oh,
gave him
oh, oh.
a point. So I said, wait a
Right.
second. That's not the way that we practice. Let me try this again. So I did again. And I'll be honest with you. I lost my first fighting tournament. Oh, I lost. I won third in forms, third in weapons, but then in fighting, I lost because I didn't
Right.
understand. I didn't understand because again, we weren't a competition school. We didn't work on point fighting. You just worked on that linear drills, kind of back and forth. So it was like,
Mhm.
again, I go, you go, I go, you go. So, my first fighting experience did not go well. I remember that and I'll be honest with you, I was pissed. I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like the world was ending. I didn't care about the other trophies. I was pissed that I lost in fighting. So,
I understand that. I think that's the international thing where, like, if you compete for the first time in a tournament and the results didn't go your way, you're automatically going to be really mad at the situation. Like, man, I should have won. I thought I did everything I was supposed to do. And then, you slowly realize, well, maybe the way that you prepared for this for your first one, it could have improved and it could have been better, in terms of preparation. It may
right,
not be you as the person, but just the way that you prepared.
right,
It's like saying, like, like I'm going to use a direct example, like, in the NFL, you're going to have two teams go at it. One team's going to win. One team, unfortunately, will face defeat. And the team that is defeated, they thought, like, the week before that game that they prepared in the best way that they can. They just fell a little short. That's just all.
right, right, right. Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you like, as you were like, coming up in the ranks and being a black belt, did you like the competition life of, like, of tournaments?
I did. I did. Like I said, we didn't go to a lot. So it was like you train all year. And then we went to like, I think it was two tournaments. It was one in the fall, one in the spring. So it was a big deal. We would go, and train. And then, I officially got my black belt after that first tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then the goal was like, hey, I want to win. I want to win. I want to win. So, it was either, you were in the finals or you got, first, second place. And if I didn't come home with it, that was the kind of the mark that I set, you know what I mean? That I wanted to make sure that I placed at every tournament I went to.
Right.
And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I used to compete a lot. Again, try to go to all those tournaments, but it was funny because I really got the bug when I got older. Once I got my own car, then I was ready to go. Then I was literally going to all kind of tournaments. Whoever had a tournament, I was going, I was fighting, I was
Okay.
competing. Yeah. It was whatever. And then it was funny because we didn't again, my school didn't compete a lot. So I would go to compete, but I wouldn't wear my school's uniform. I'd wear a plain dobak, a plain uniform that didn't
Right.
have a logo on it, so nobody knew where I was from. But I would go
Right.
to compete. But yeah, I loved it, man. I loved competing. It really, really shaped me. It was a lot of memories, and I met a lot of great people.
Did you go to like the traditional tournaments, or did you go to like the sport karate, like the NASCA style
So
tournaments?
NASCA started in mid '90s, and that was right at the tail end of when I was. So I was heavily competing, probably '85 to probably 94,
Okay.
94. I think that's really when that started. I did a lot of more freestyle tournaments in my area. Um, it was funny. I have to say, the biggest tournament, the biggest win I ever had, and the reason why this comes up is because I literally was cleaning out. I have these boxes from my house and that I pulled from my dad's house when he passed away, and I
Mm,
found this old newspaper clippings and stuff like that. So when I was in college. I went to Penn State University, and
mm,
Penn State University had a big Taekwondo team at that time. This is in the mid '90s, but they didn't have a Tang Sudo team, right? There wasn't Tang Sudo teams in college at that time. So
right.
They had a Taekwondo team, and that was the early stages of I think the NCTA just started, the National Collegiate Taekwondo Association, and some of these other
Correct.
things. So I did, the state championships. I went to regionals. I went to junior nationals. I went to junior Olympics. And that really, when I got to compete, it was in the 1996 Junior Olympics in Orlando, Florida. I will never forget that. That was probably the greatest tournament I'd ever been to, the biggest thing I'd ever been to at that time. And I wanted to win. You know what I mean? I really, really wanted to win. I ended up winning a gold and a bronze medal there. Um, but that really kind of was like, I don't want to say put me on the map, but that was like my first big, national one, not just a regular tournament, but it was something. And it was outside because I really wasn't a Taekwondo player at that time. It was
Right.
just was available at the college. So I joined the club, I trained, then they had a competition team, I joined it, and then I did the state championships, the regionals, and then, like I said, the junior Olympics. So, but that kind of was the biggest thing I felt for me, competitive wise, that kind of took me off. And then I competed in Pennsylvania, for 2 to 3 years while I was up there doing the local circuit in Pennsylvania,
Mm.
all the different tournaments and stuff like that. Whoever was giving cash for fighting, I was going to the tournament to try to
Nice.
win.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
But being that you said that you went to Penn State and you were a part of that the Taekwondo team, was it a challenging transition being from an originally a Tang Sudo practitioner to doing the Taekwondo, like maybe possibly that I guess it was like maybe like it was probably like a WTF style of
Yes.
Taekwondo.
It was definitely WTF, the Hogu sparring. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I have to tell you, so it's funny. I got recruited. The coolest experience, and it's funny because I go back up to Penn State every once in a while. My older son went to Penn State, and they don't
Mm.
do a lot of stuff that they did then, but they had a thing I would never forget. I was a freshman, and they had these flyers up, and it was called a martial arts night. And you went
Mm.
to like the recreation building, and all of the clubs at Penn State all did a demonstration. So you would get to see what clubs were available, and then you would go to their information center, and then you would, try out. So when I first there, I joined a Korean karate club that was there, but it was more like a kickboxing club. And I joined it. It was funny because they wore I swear they wanted to be Cobra Kai. They wore these sleeveless. It was hilarious, right? It was hilarious. But I joined it. I wanted to be part of it, right? So they wore these sleeveless things with this Korean patch, and then they would tell me, "Oh, we're gonna fight against Argentina and all these other things," and I didn't know any different. So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I remember I trained with them for a whole semester. We didn't do one tournament. Then I trained with them in the spring, and then we had that spring martial arts day, and I saw the Taekwondo team and I saw their coach. And it was funny because I did like their demonstration. So I think I did like a 360 blindfolded hook kick in the air, right? Broke a board. So
Right.
I get done, people clap, blah, 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 blah. So I remember I got done, and the Taekwondo master, Sam Char, who I'm very good friends with, Sam came up to me and he says, "Oh, he says, really nice kick." He goes, "You should do Taekwondo." He goes, "You have good kicks." And I said, "No, I've never done Taekwondo." He goes, "If you train with us," he goes, "you can go to nationals." He goes, "There's something else for you." He said, "Why don't you come aboard?" He goes, "Or at least come to one of the trainings, next week." So I decided to do that. Well, the Korean Karate Club found out. They got pissed off at me. It was like this whole like turf war thing. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was terrible. So I ended up leaving
Uh-oh.
that. I joined the Taekwondo program, and I'm going to tell you, Kim, I got my ass kicked. I got my ass kicked in that Hogu fighting for 3 months straight,
Oh,
literally every day. Ba ba ba, because I couldn't. I was a good like. I could do a static kick like boom, one, two, but that continuation, I wasn't grasping it yet. I had the leg strength, I had
right.
the athleticism, but I just wasn't grasping the timing. And then
Right.
I would never forget, we went to I want to say it was a Taekwondo tournament in the Poconos or something like that. And I won first place. So it was like 18 to 29-year-old division. I ended up winning. And I said, okay, I think I got it. And then at that point, I started competing, and then I started really, really winning, and then I went to like 5, 6 tournaments and ended up winning them all. And then I went to the state championships in Pennsylvania. Then I went to regionals, and then I went to the Junior Olympics. And then that's when it like, you know what I mean? It's really, really started clicking. But I did have a difficult time in the beginning, man. I got my ass kicked like literally the first 3 months, man, every day. And that humbled me beyond belief. And then I got to train. So there was a kid, two guys. There was a kid, Chris, who was older than me. He was like a junior or senior. and he had went to nationals the year before, USTU nationals. And I think he took second. He was very good, very, very good. So I got to train with him, and then I got to train with the master, Sam Char, because Sam was on the 88 Lebanese demonstration team. So they went to Seoul, Korea in 88 for the demonstrative sport. He was a very good Taekwondo player as well. So I got to train with those two guys, which is why I got my ass kicked every day, but they made me better. You know what I mean? They made me a lot better. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on. I'm reading over in the bio that you sent me that at one point you actually trained with Grandmaster Hosik Pak from
Yes.
Best of the Best.
Yes, yes, Grandmaster Pak. You know, it's funny. I just talked to him about 2 weeks ago, so I still stay in contact with him. When I broke away from William Hamilton, I wanted to start my own school, and unfortunately, you know, things change, difference of opinion. So I was kind of trying to find another master to kind of train with, and a good friend of mine, Eric Kovalevsky, who's deceased now, unfortunately, was training with Josep Pak. He would fly him in from New York, fly him in from California,
Right.
train. So I went to a couple seminars. I met him. I told Grandmaster Pak my situation. I joined his federation, and then I flew him in. You know, once, twice a year, he'd come in. We do some training. I would go out there, and then he actually promoted me for if I remember, I think it's my 5th and 6th degree black belts. I got directly from Hosik Pak. Yeah, yeah, because I got all my other ones from Hamilton, and then when I broke away, but yeah, Hosik Pak promoted me to those middle Dan rankings, and then you know, and then I kind of did my own thing after that. But I always stay in contact with him. Yeah, he actually might be doing a new project with me, a movie project. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from him in terms of like movie wise since the Best of the Best.
Yeah, yeah. I think he did a couple small things, but yeah, he's been really focusing on his Hwarang Tong Sudo Association and his school, you know, his dojang. I think he's got a couple different dojangs, but and he's an avid golf player. He loves his golf.
Nice. What was it like training under a guy like him?
Hosip Pak is a technician. He is phenomenal, especially for his age, you know. And again, he's not old, but again, just being a little bit older, his technical abilities, his muscularity, just the way that he kicks and the way that he moves, he's so smooth. And I'm just honored to know him and have that opportunity to work out with him. And he's tough, man. He's tough because I came up more Americanized in the way that I learned from Bill Hamilton. So then training under Korean, it's totally different. Totally different. You know, they have a different way that they I think teach technically, and they do different stuff. So he molded me during those middle years, which I think was really, really important. So but yeah, I had a good time with him. He's a good man, very good man.
Have you ever gone against him in golf?
No, I'm too smart. He'll take all my money if I go against him. No way. I'm not going against him in golf. No way. I'm not even a white belt in golf. No way.
Oh man, I see. The next thing I was going to ask was like, how's that golf swing?
Terrible. The best golf I could play is at one of those places called Top Golf. That's the best. That's the
Top
best
Golf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at Top Golf. That's about it.
I'm okay in Top Golf. Putt golf is more my jam. So, you know, I mean, you know, I can putt it pretty good, but if you're asking me to drive it about, I don't know, like 300 yards, forget it. You know, that takes a lot of, you know, science and great extension and precision, and credit to those that can actually swing that golf club and can hit that ball like 300, 400 yards away. You're a better person than I am.
Yeah. No, he'll take all my money if you play against him. That's it. So I learned my lesson.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about you have a martial arts school, Team Torres Martial Arts.
Yes, sir.
Nice. And where is that specifically located?
That's actually my hometown, Edgewater Park, New Jersey.
Okay. And I'm looking at the website. There's one over in Riverton as well.
Yeah, we did a program out of a fitness center there. We had a program out of a fitness center there. Yep.
Okay. And how long has Team Torres Martial Arts? How long has that been in the runnings?
So we actually opened in 2000. It was actually right when I finished college, and this coming April, we're actually celebrating our 25th year of business.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yep.
That's like the silver year?
You know what? I think so. I think you're right. Yeah, 25 years. Yeah, I think so. Unless that's the 50. I don't remember. Maybe.
I feel like the 50s, like the gold year or something like that. I don't know. I could get my elements mixed up.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like when you actually decided to branch out on your own and to actually have your own studio? Like, was there any like challenges of like beforehand of like actually opening your school? Is there any challenges now being a school owner? Where do you see it?
I was young. I was 22, 23. I was a young father at that time. I just got, married to my wife at that time. And it was always my dream. Ever since I got my black belt, I always wanted to have my own school. And the challenge was I was younger. I was younger. I was a very young instructor, young master. So I was fighting a lot of the stereotypes. It's funny because I talk about this all the time now with other school owners because it's different now. 'Cause now I'm the older guy on the scene.
Yeah.
So, I've earned that respect. But when I first was starting out, it's funny. You had who's this young kid? Who's this young Puerto Rican kid trying to start a karate school in the suburbs? Like, who is he?
Right.
He doesn't look like the master I trained with, or he doesn't look like this. And that was the difficulty I did. I had to go through a lot of that. There was a lot of people that said I wouldn't make it. There was a lot of people that, just didn't believe in what I was trying to do. I started in a rec center. And then we built the numbers up very quickly in 6 months. We got too big, and then they kicked us out of that rec center. They said, "You're too big. You got too many people. You can't run a business out of here." So then we ended up getting a commercial building. Yeah, yeah, because you can't run a business out of a rec center. You know what I mean? We were kind of doing it as a service, and then it just got too big. Almost, I mean, we literally went from like 10 kids to like 75 kids in a matter of like 2 months. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, we ended up then getting a commercial building, which is this warehouse. And I got to tell you, my first school. I still remember it was so big, man. It was like 7,000 square foot. It was in this big warehouse. Yeah, it was a huge warehouse that we
Mhm.
like kind of retrofit to make it what it was. But it was so big, I could run 4 full-size rings and run tournaments inside of this warehouse. It was amazing. I loved it. The heat sucked because it was 25-foot ceilings. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It
Yep.
sucked, but and the heat and cooling was the worst. But besides that, the space, I stayed there as long as I could because it was dirt cheap rent, and we just built a school there for probably almost 8 to 9 years. And then I opened up my second location. Then I had 3 locations at one time, and then I backed it down to to what I have now. But that was probably the toughest. Was, like I said, establishing myself. I was younger, kind of dealing with the stereotypes, and then kind of finding myself what worked because I couldn't teach how my master taught because that wasn't working in 2001, 2002. I had
Right.
like 15, 20 kids, and you can't run a business off of 15, 20 kids. So I
Yep.
kind of had to structure things different, make it a little more appeasing, make it a little more fun. And, you can't beat up the kids as bad as what we did, what was done to us. That was the hardest thing. Listen, it was funny. I had a black belt that came aboard with me. He
Hmm.
was my senior. He was my senior. He left the school and came aboard with me. And we did our first, I think it was a belt test, or maybe it was a black belt test, but it was a test. And he like whispers over to me. He's like, "Torres, this is crazy." He's like, "You can't make these kids do this." He was like, "They're never gonna pass this." He was like, "I don't even think I could do this." And I was like so focused. In my mind, I wanted my kids to be the best. I wanted to push them beyond beliefs. I wanted them to do the best push-ups, the best jumping jacks, the best kick, have the most best power. Like, I made the kids dress up when we used to go to tournaments. They had to wear shirt and ties and to go into the tournaments and march in a straight line. I kid you not, because I
Wow.
was younger, so I needed to make a statement of every tournament that we went to. You know what I mean? So that's what
Yeah.
I do. Yep, yep, yep.
Wow. That wow. I don't mind dressing up every now and then for a tournament. I really don't because they always say, when you dress for success. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm yeah, okay. Okay.
yep. Very old
Um,
school.
yeah, no, that is old school. That's old school as you can get. What kind of advice would you actually give to the next generation, to the people that are like, you know what, I think I want to branch out and open my own school? Like, what kind of advice would you give to those guys or those ladies?
I think they have to do their research and find out first the logistics and the economic side of where they're going to open up at.
Hmm.
Because every community that you're working with, you have to really look at the demographics of what you're pulling, right? So if you open up in an inner city versus the suburbs, that's going to dictate what you can charge and how you could charge, and certain people are going to tell you different things, but nobody told me that, nobody told me that. So I had to find out the hard way. And I think that you have to do your research to know your area. Who is your target market? What are you going after? Because you're not going to get everybody. You're either going to be primarily with kids now, or if you're going after an adult market, you have to have more of a mixed martial arts feel to it. If you want to try to attract more women, you have to do more realistically. There's different things that you have to do. So I really think that they would have to do their research.
Mm-hmm.
And, the biggest thing is just grind, and they have to put themselves out there. Because again, they have to establish themselves different than everybody else is. Some guys are part of franchises, and I think franchises work great. In my area, I have Tiger Showman, I have Action Karate, I have American Kick. Those are great franchises near me. But I'm not a franchise. I'm Team Torres Martial Arts. So I am the franchise. So I had to build, my status and reputation based off of me, and then translating to the students. So I just think that they have to believe in themselves and really, really do their research. It's a tough business, man. The martial arts business is not what it was in the 70s, 80s. That is a fact. It's totally different.
Let's talk a little bit about the martial arts experience. You actually, there's a magazine version, and then there's the online podcast version that we know that is usually on Facebook. I think it's also on YouTube, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
How did that come about? Like, wow, like, did you just decide, like, I want to do something for people on a more of a different media in terms of going online and try to be like this personality and try to get like the who's who of martial arts? Like, where were you going with this?
So it's funny. The podcast came about before the magazine. Magazine. So I actually became co-owner of Action Martial Arts Magazine, Alan Goldberg's Action Martial Arts Magazine.
Right. I remember that. I remember those.
I ran the magazine for a couple of years, and I really learned the business that way from him and then the team that I had assembled. And it was a lot of work. It was definitely a lot of work. And then what I did is during COVID, that changed the game for everybody. So over COVID, I had a list of some people that I knew, and I said, you know what? I said, maybe I'll start interviewing people. Maybe I'll do a podcast or a video. Let's see what happens. Let's see people log in.
Right.
So I started interviewing some competitors and masters, and then I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. I'm really going to try to make this into something.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went through my database of who I had, and at that time I knew Azim Rizk was a big guest for me. He was a Power Ranger Super Mega Force actor. Billy Blanks, I had him on the show. But the key to my show, I have to tell you, and I owe him the credit because he really put me on the map, was Marty Cove. Marty Cove actor, Marty Cove that played Sensei John Kreese.
John Kreese, yep.
Yeah, I had met Kreese at an event at the Action Show. And, we had a drink together. We talked. I mean, great guy. And this was before Cobra Kai came out. You know what I mean? So he was kind of like, not as crazy as it is now, the super fans. So
right.
I had him at one of my tournaments. Real sweet guy. We stayed in contact. So I brought, Sensei John Kreese onto my podcast show. Oh my God, it went crazy. I started getting emails, text messages like, oh my God, this is great. So then he ended up kind of setting up, he gave me that validity because I had him. So then I had Daryl Vidal on the show. I had Sean Kanan on the show, who played Mike Barnes. Yep. I had Ron Thomas, who played Bobby. And then,
that's right.
And then I had my good friend William Ford, who played Dennis in Karate Kid 3, and now is Dennis Guzman on Cobra Kai. So as this thing started growing, it was almost like a locomotive. Like it just started moving, then it started going. Then I had other celebrities Facebook me, like, hey, because everybody was locked in at that time, so nobody could do anything. So I felt like right place, right time, and I was able to really get some really cool, martial arts celebrities to come on. And then as I started doing it, I said, you know what? I had broke away. I stopped doing Action Magazine. I said, man, maybe I'll do my own magazine. So then we ended up doing 3 different issues. We did them as special editions, not monthly issues, and we could focus the issues on, a specific topic. So that's how we started with Martial Arts Experience, the podcast, and Martial Arts Experience, the magazine.
Nice. Do you think that, like, when you do like your online version of the podcast, and I'm only assuming that you have like a traditional audio podcast,
I do. So I
Right.
use it as that Buzzsprout, and I think and we put that up on the various different platforms.
Right.
I've kind of got. I have to be honest. I've kind of gotten lazy because I've been busy doing all these other projects. You got to have a team as you start to get bigger because you can't do everything, and that's kind of where I'm at now. So I kind of got to get back to that because I need to get all the audio and then start putting them up because I have a ton of. I mean, we've done almost 90 interviews as of now. I have like 3 seasons worth, so I really need, and I have some good ones now. Like I found Rochelle Oshana who played My Lee in Kickboxer. I had
Ooh.
I had Muhammad Kisi who played Tong Po. I've had
Yep.
him on the show. So I got to
Yep.
get all these interviews, what I mean, out there as soon as possible. But it's just the time. That's the biggest thing. So I need help. I need help.
I was going to ask you, like, before you even gave me that answer, what do you think is the more difficult, mission, doing a podcast on an audio sense or doing a podcast like live in the video sense?
I like the video more, and it's funny because there's some celebrities they don't like video. I've already had, and I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but there's some people that won't do video. They just won't because they've either had a bad experience or whatever it is. Some people don't like to do live, right? Because they want to know the questions early. They want to know this. I like live. I like the organic side of that electric. I don't know what you're going to ask, and I speak from my heart. And I feel
Right.
like that's when you get the best interviews. But again, it adds that extra layer of work. So again, if we do a live interview, that means I got to pull the audio, right? I got to download the audio, then I got to convert it and do these other things, and it's just time consuming. And that's probably my biggest challenge and hurdle that I have to do now. But I need to get my team ready so that I don't have to do that. Somebody else has got to do that for me, Kim. Somebody
I
else.
understand. I understand. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, when it comes to the Kim Hoang podcast experience and doing the podcast, like I said before, coming in January, is going to be our 4th season. You know what I mean? But mainly I've been doing it basically as an army of one. You know what I mean? So you can just
Kudos to
imagine.
you.
Yeah.
Kim, kudos to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You have to, like, just imagine, I'm going to paint you the picture. You're an army of one. You're doing all the interview setups and everything, the appointments. You're doing the actual interview itself. Then when, it's all said and done, then you have to go ahead and do the editing and then make sure that everything is right. Get that stuff uploaded, then put in, like, information about, like, what this episode is all about. Upload that, set a time frame of when you want that thing to, actually debut. And then you got to repeat the cycle all over again. And sometimes I'm just like, Lord, if you can pass me a bone here, I really would appreciate it. I'm your child. I go to church. Help a dude out.
No, you know what? But you're right. And it was funny when we were locked there for COVID, I was able to do that stuff myself, right?
Right,
And
right.
once we opened back up and I got involved back with the school and doing all these other things, and then once all these other things, the last 3-4 years last 2 years that I've been doing, I just don't have the time, and that's been the biggest thing. So right now, all my newest, interviews have I use StreamYard, and then it goes right up onto the YouTube page or the Facebook. But as far as the download of the audio, I'm behind, man. I'm behind on a lot of episodes. I really need to play catch up. You know what I mean? But again,
But
that's an
also,
animal in itself.
yeah, but also because of the fact that you're a martial arts teacher and you have a school and you got to run the classes. I mean, that's a lot on your plate.
Yeah, yeah. Keeps me out of trouble though. More stuff I do, guys. I stay out of trouble, Kim.
I hear you. I hear you. So let's go ahead and transition a little bit from the martial arts to the art of acting. Not many people knew, but I saw it. I actually saw it. You were an actual extra on Cobra Kai recently, where you were like one of the judges in a nice, like, 3-piece suit at the Sakai Takai tournament that was in Barcelona.
Yes. Crazy story. A friend of mine had reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I don't know if they're casting for Cobra Kai." And I'm like, "Oh my God, what do they have available?" And he's like, "Well, they're looking for the Spanish coach for the Spanish team." And I was like, "Oh," but I had put in very, very late. He was like, "Look, it's been out for already a week." He was like, "I don't know if you're going to get it, but you should put in." So I said, "Okay." So I put in for it. And then they literally emailed me the next day and they said, "Hey, we've already filled that, but we need a judge. Would you be interested in being a tournament judge?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." They said, "But you got to come to Atlanta." So, again, organizing everything that I'm doing because I'm a dad. I got the karate school. I got all these things. I have a good friend of mine, one of my former students, Samantha. She lives in Georgia. She actually is a full-time camera specialist operator. She works on all the Marvel movies, but she lives in Atlanta. So I reached out to her and said, "Hey, what do you think? Think this is an opportunity I should take?" She goes, "Hey, Cobra Kai is a big thing." She goes, "If you can come," she goes, "you could just stay with me." So I went out there for 3 weeks. I filmed on that production for 3 weeks. Yeah, the whole
Wow.
whole part two. Yeah, yeah, because they did a lot of filming. There was a lot of reshoots and stuff like that. But it was a cool experience. And it just so happened I had a black suit and a gray suit, and the wardrobe lady was like, "Hey, I like that gray on you. You be the gray guy. I think you'll stand out." And then in all the sets, I ended up being the center, basically the center judge on the stage. And it was funny because there was so much that they shot. There was some really good shots of me, but obviously I only got shown in the background. That other stuff didn't make it, but that's okay because it was still really cool. I got to see Marty. I got to meet Thomas Ian Griffin, and then I got to meet Zolo. He was wonderful. I loved him. Who else did I get to meet? I got to meet Justin Ortiz and his wife. Justin, they played Miguel, not Miguel, Diego, and oh God, Maria is her name. They play on the Spanish. They call him the Spanish Hawk.
Yeah,
Justin,
yeah, with the
wife.
dreadlocks. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Justin Ortiz. He was actually a member at one point of Team Paul Mitchell. He was on their sparring team.
Yes, yes, great martial artist, man, phenomenal. So I got to go out there. I went to Atlanta. Got to be on sets. The set was amazing. I had never been on anything like that before. So for me, I did it for the experience to be out there, and it was really cool. I made a lot of connections and got to see how a major blockbuster big time show like Cobra Kai on Netflix works. And it was cool. Honestly, I learned a lot. I met Don Lee, the stunt coordinator. It was cool. Fight coordinator, excuse me. I mean, really, really nice people. And then my good friend William Ford, they brought his character back, so I was able to hang with him a couple of days on a set. So it was a really cool experience.
Oh wow. Were you able to meet obviously, obviously I got to throw this question at you. Were you able to actually meet like Ralph Macchio and William Zabka?
I did very briefly. I have a picture with them. I didn't really get a chance to talk to them very much, and they were very protective. Like they would come on set and then they would leave. They would be in their trailer and then they would come out. But on the final days, everybody was kind of mingling a little bit, and I was able to take kind of a group picture with Ralph and William. Nice people, man. Billy Zappa, really nice people, wonderful people.
Nice, nice. And obviously, for those that do have Netflix, go ahead and check out Cobra Kai, especially the part 2. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll be able to see this man. You'll know exactly, like when you see him, you're like, oh my gosh, it's that guy. Yes, it's that guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Listen, great experience. Like I said, I think every experience is what you make of it. And, to be involved with that type of a juggernaut of a show is true blessing. I mean, who doesn't want to be part of Cobra Kai?
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, if you're given an opportunity, I always feel like, if the opportunity is there, you got to take it. Otherwise, later on in life, you might be kicking yourself in the shins, and you'll always be asking yourself that question, like, man, why didn't I just take it? Why did I act like a bonehead and just give it a rejection notice?
Right. Yeah, you never know. Like I said, I met some wonderful, wonderful people, some amazing actors that are on there, some professional extras. That's all they do is just extra work all the time. I mean, I learned a lot. I really did. I had done extra work. Man, it might have been about 8 to 10 years ago, on a show called Outlaw. I played a hotel guest. It was with Jimmy Smits. He played a judge. It was only like maybe 6 episodes, but they did the filming at the old resorts in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So I went out. I only filmed for 2 days. Oh my God, that was brutal. It was like 12, 13-hour days. Man, I remember the one day we didn't get done until 2 a.m. and we were there at 6 a.m. It was crazy. But that was like the first experience that I had of that. But this was Cobra Kai. So I was like, of course, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Let me go out there and be part of this thing.
Nice. Now, I everybody wants to know Killer X. That was the movie that you were in, that you were the lead actor in this film. And again, it's out there, guys, on Fossum. It's out there on Tubi. If you can, support it and purchase it over on Amazon Prime Video. I purchased it just recently. It's $9.99. Good film. Good film.
Thank you.
How did this all come about?
So it was a byproduct of the podcast show.
Mm,
So on the podcast show, I had William Christopher Ford, and we had developed a really good relationship. And then I was part of William's show called 52 Masters, which is on YouTube. And he
correct.
featured different masters. I was the first East Coast master that was featured on this show.
Right. I saw that.
Once I did 52 Masters a couple of years ago, I definitely got a little more attention. You know, I was a little globally out there a little bit more, and I had an opportunity. I did a film called 1 out of 100 with a master called Willie the Bam Johnson.
Yes.
And I played a tournament. I was a tournament announcer, so I got to be part of it, and it was a really cool experience. I met some great guys. It was a great director, Robert Parham. I met him. And, you know, he spoke to me afterwards, gave me some kind words. He said, Jose, you trying to do this full time? What are you trying to do? I said, you know, step by step. He goes, I think you'd be a great lead, man. You should really look into doing something. So I had this conversation with William. And William said, hey, I got a good friend of mine. His name's Jim Towns. He's a great director, does a lot of horror films. He said, but he's looking to do a new action film, and maybe you guys can link up, and maybe you could be his guy, you know?
Yep.
So I flew out to LA and I met with him, and Jim is a great guy. You know, I'm very loyal to him. He gave me my first chance, but you know, we kind of talked about what the idea was and what I wanted to do and my character and what I could bring to the table. And I kind of sold him I was going to be his Puerto Rican version of Liam Neeson. I said, because I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm not too old, you know. So, and I said, I'm an artist and I can move. I said, so, you know, I think I can do this. So, you know, Jim thought it was a great idea. We worked on the script, Killer X, which tells a story of a retired assassin who's a family guy now, but his ex-girlfriend, you know, it's always the exes that cause the problems, but the ex-girlfriend comes back into his life, and, you know, she doesn't finish the job. She ends up killing somebody, and there's assassins that are sent after her to kill her, and he gets sucked back into that life because he was an assassin at one time. Yeah, I mean, we shot it. It was like a total of about 30, close to 30 days. And we shot it in a couple different clips. You know, the longest one we did was about 13-day shoot. And it was my first feature film. I got to be the lead actor on it. It was an amazing, amazing experience, man. I learned so much. Small budget, you know, independent film, but I got to do fight choreography on it, which was awesome. So I had close to like 7 fight scenes, and I did some other stuff. And it was, you know, a lot of love, sweat, and tears in that film. You know what I mean? Again, because it was not a big budget, but we were very blessed to have it picked up for distribution. You know, like you mentioned, it's on Tubi, it's on Prime, it's actually on Roku now. It is on Fawsome. You can also buy the DVD. Our DVD sales went very, very well. DVD, it's available through Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Walmart picked it up as well. So we definitely got a little bit of life to it, you know, got a little bit of steam to it. So I'm very, very excited. It was such a great experience, man. Wonderful cast. Everybody involved, you know, from, like I said, from the top, from the director down, just amazing experience.
This cast is ridiculous because, you know, in the world of sports, they like to use the term like this is an all-star team. You know what I mean? You got the who's who, like you said before, Muhammad Kizzy, who played Tong Po in the Kickboxer movies. William Christopher Ford, like you mentioned, was in, you know, Karate Kid Part 3, and now he's over in Cobra Kai. An OG legend himself in the martial arts, Gerald Okamura.
Yes. I'm gonna tell you,
Big Trouble in Little China.
He's a pro, man. He's a pro. Let me tell you, Gerald, Uncle Gerald, I refer to him as. He is the man. I got to tell you, it was an honor to work with him, man. The amount of knowledge and just what exudes from him when you're sitting across from him. I do my opening scene with him. We do the scene in the park, and then we do a lot of people don't know there's a special scene, a post-credit scene at the end of the movie where me and him talk in this restaurant.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
I got to tell you, man, it was an honor to work with Gerald. Honor to work with Gerald. It's just crazy how, like I said, how this whole thing came about. You know, a lot of this had to do with the podcast and some of the people that I built relationships with, and I was able to bring them aboard. You know, I also was one of the producers on the film as well, so kind of gave me some creativity. And these guys, everybody committed to it. They believed in the vision, And again, it was small. I mean, this is a small budget film, and it came out better than we expected, and I'm very proud to be part of this.
Also, I've just noticed as well, and I knew I recognized him from the NASCAR circuit, Rommel Gargoyles.
Yes, Rommel.
Yeah,
So
Rommel. Yeah.
Yeah. Romel's a very good friend of mine. Romel's actually trained under me now. So Romel's actually under me as a Tong Sudo. I'm working with him. I'm his Tong Sudo Grandmaster. He is based out of Texas. He works for the Kickstart program, Chuck Norris's program.
That's right.
Yep. And Romel's a Jersey guy. He used to be a Jersey guy, but now he's in Texas. But great guy. We got to do a cool scene. He plays this laundromat assassin as part of the film. And rumor has it he might be coming back for another part in another film. So we're excited to bring him aboard. But yeah, we had a who's who, man. We had some real martial artists, some real actors, and some newbies too. There's some new people that we were able to give them, their first shot as well, and they did great. They did great.
The two or I should say actresses that I noticed that was like, oh wow, like that blew me away. That I was like, okay, they're definitely giving their ingredient in the dish. One was Elena Churinova, who played your ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
And Amanda Schoonover.
Yep. So Elena, I got to tell you, Elena, was my leading lady. We got to work. She was. I cannot say enough good things about her. The fact that she believed in the project as much as she did. And I was new, right? Like, so I was new. I did not have the acting chops that she had or the experience or anything like that. We did a lot of table reads. We did a lot of cold reads. We did Zoom meetings just to kind of build like a little bit of a rapport, of a relationship. And she was aboard for everything. I mean, she really, really did a lot and put a lot into the film. She was an absolute pleasure. Professional to work with. And Amanda, I didn't have any scenes with Amanda. Amanda's probably the most, I would say, seasoned actress as features and stuff. She just did, I know she did, I think it was Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy. She was part of that. I know she did a movie with Tom Hanks. I think she did a movie with Sally Fields as well. But, she's I think her experience, was probably the most in regards to that. And then the woman that played my wife in the movie, Jessie Groover, she's a stage actress. She was phenomenal as well. She was phenomenal. And then we were able to feature for the first time bare knuckle champion, strawweight champion, so bare knuckle boxing champion, Britain Hart. We featured her in the film as well. That was her first acting thing. Yeah, she played an assassin that Elena fights. So it was cool.
Was she the one with all the tattoos and the hair that was braided? Oh,
yeah, she was badass, man. There was a film critic that was there, and he was like, "Who is she?" And I said, "Oh, that's who she is." She was like, "She needs her own film." He was like, "Bring her back for something." So I'm gonna try to work out something, and we're gonna try to put a project in production, or at least start the motion to get something involved for Britain. She's got great stage presence. She's good.
Nice. How's like the whole film of Killer X, like when you actually put it out there for the world to see and for the world to invest in, how well was it received? I mean, did it have like a lot of good reviews? Were there some reviews that were not so favorable? Like how did you see it?
So, I have to be honest with you. I was very nervous with it coming out, and I was scared. I was, because it was the first time. I was more concerned not with William, Elena, or Gerald or Muhammad. I was concerned with myself. I was really concerned. I said, "Hey, I'm the lead guy. Am I going to be the believable lead guy? Are people going to be like, hey, we're behind this guy. We're riding this. We love this project. This is a likable guy." That was the fear that I had, Kim, because I had to carry the movie, right? I'm the quote unquote the guy. So
Right.
I felt a lot of that pressure. I was very nervous. It's weird because I am in a very unique situation. I literally just talked about this with another person. I'm not a 22-year-old actor that's starting from nowhere, that's working at bartending.
Yep.
I'm a seasoned career martial artist of 40 plus years who owns his own business for 25 years. So I have a following in regards of that, right? So now adding, hey, now he's a karate action guy. That following that I've already started, they are believing in me now. They're following the journey. So those people, I have to tell you, our first screening, we sold out. We sold 514 tickets. That
Whoa.
video was on YouTube. Listen, they said they didn't do that since the Black Panther came out, the movie theater that we were in. They literally
Ooh.
told us that. They literally they bumped oh my God, they bumped one of the movies. The Bob Marley movie came out at the same time, and we
Hmm.
took the bigger theater, and then we took the second biggest theater to fit all the 514 people, and the manager was so happy. I never thought, honestly, I thought my family would come, right? A couple friends. I never thought, and we sold the first theater was 186. Then they moved us to the bigger one, which was 285. Then I had another like waiting list on a Google Doc of another 200 people. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Let's make it happen. Let's try to do this. So we just kept even. Then finally I had to cut it off. But yeah, 514 people to our grand, the opening in February. I think it was February 22nd or 24th. It was a Thursday night. We sold 514 tickets to the premiere. Amazing, amazing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
feedback wise, I will have to tell you, feedback wise, that was an interesting group because they were so excited. Like they got so excited to see me and the other people, and then everybody came out and they were just so again like they were part of this process. Like it was someone that they knew. So again, it was a jaded experience, right? Because it's like, hey, this is a guy we know, and holy shit, he's on the screen. That was the feeling. So they were so happy. So then that started trickle to like the martial arts community. And then I did some screenings in Pennsylvania and New York. And then we did some overseas screenings. We did one in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and we did
Ooh.
one in Trinidad and Tobago. We just did that in the beginning of November. And we sold
Okay.
about 100 each in each of those. Um, Everybody's been really positive. The critic gave us a good review. He was very impressed with the budget. Nobody could believe the budget we did it for. I mean, nobody, like nobody. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because it was less than 100,000. It was literally like under 50,000. We did that whole movie for, which is
Yeah.
unheard of. But we
Yeah.
got a lot of favors, a lot of friends, a lot of help. A lot of donations, and you know, it's funny because we started to get the more and more this movie starts getting out there, right? You're going to get more critiques. You're going to get people now that are going to start messaging. People are going to start saying this and saying that. So we did not get, what is that, 5-star rating, or 10-star rating. Like I think we only have like a 3.8 or 3 point something. But hey, it is what it is. At least people are taking the time to vote. But what I'm looking at is who's voting, who's commenting, and what are they really saying, right? Are they player haters just like they don't like it? Or are they offering something? And I have to tell you that, the people that are offering, they're giving good reviews. They're saying, hey, based on this, based on that, this is a great film. Like, this is really cool. This is a cool story. It's watchable. People can watch it. It's believable, because again, we didn't have CGI. We didn't have cables. There was no explosions. We
Right.
sold it through dialogue and fighting, you know what I mean? And that's all we did. And I made a lot of mistakes, Kim. I'll be honest with you. It's not a perfect film at all, but to be the first one, it was good. But we did get, it was weird. The teaser started getting, it was weird because I want to say it was after the third screening. The teaser went from like 5,000 views to 30,000 views real fast. I don't know what the hell happened. And then now I started getting the haters on it, like, oh, this is trash. Oh, this is this. Oh, this is caca. So I got like 5 negative things. And it was funny because did it bother me? It did. It did. Because I was like, man, come on. People can see this is not a Hollywood thing. I figured that
Right.
they'd be okay. But, there's haters, right? So, Kim, somebody put, I never forget, I responded to everybody's thing. Oh yeah, I responded to everybody's message like, "Hey, thanks for your support. Probably try to buy the movie here." But one guy put, this is a B-level movie with B-level actors." But hold on, I said, "That's great." I said, "I just went from not being an actor a year ago to now I'm a B-level actor. This is perfect." I said,
Right.
"I'm moving up the ranks." So,
Yep. Yep.
I took that and I said, "Hey, thanks for the compliment. That means so much." And I found out what the guy's name was. I forget what it was. It was like Steve or Chris. So I was like, "Oh, thanks so much. That means so much." But obviously you're going to get haters, right? You're going to get people that don't like it. There's going to be people that don't like you, right? They don't like you. They don't like what you're doing, and that's just haters themselves. But
Yep.
you got to get haters if you're making moves, and I realize that. So again, I am so proud. It was our first film. We did it with next to nothing budget, and it's really created a buzz for me that I have other productions, other projects, other directors reaching out to me. Like I'm going to be reading for a major film coming up hopefully next month. You know what I mean? With a couple, A type level guys. So I'm excited. And we made buzz, and I feel that Killer X did what it was supposed to do.
Let me ask you this, because everybody knows when it comes to making a movie in general, sometimes, depending on the genre, you're going to have those fight scenes, whether if it's going to be, martial arts based, or if it's just like regular, like fisticuff based, fight scenes. The number one thing that they always talk about was like, it's always about the safety. It's always about, the practice and the repetition of getting each step of the choreography down to a T. How important was safety to you when it came to preparing for such a movie?
I always had that in the forefront and always in the back of my mind. And again, because of budgeting constraints, I wanted to use this movie for multiple reasons. One, to showcase me as an actor, an action guy, and hey, he could do some fight scene stuff too. Hey, he moves well, and he could develop fight scenes. So I did the majority of the fight choreography. We did hire a stunt coordinator to kind of oversee everything. A man by the name of Manny Ayala, who's done a lot of big time films. You can Google him. I think he's on FBI right now, and he does some stuff. But basically, I did the choreography. I kind of showed him. He said, "Hey, maybe tweak this, do that." And we did it. But what I tried to do is with the casting was I really tried to cast some different martial artists that I had relationships with and that I physically worked with. So we knew how to work together. We knew how to take a hit, how not to take a hit. However, we did have actors and actresses that never fought before. So we needed to train them and then kind of move forward. So, you're going to laugh. The person that got hit on the scene, we did get one person got hit. That was me. I got hit in the face. And it was funny. I have to tell you, I'll share this story. So the stunt coordinator changed something. Mm-hmm. I changed something. We kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I kind of forgot that he changed it.
Yep.
And he changed it with one of the fighters in this warehouse scene. When I go into the warehouse, I got to fight these 4 guys. Now, all 4 of those guys were all black belts that I know. 3 of them were my students. 1 was a student from someone else that I knew of. Well, the kid that was from another school, he didn't really train as much with us, right? So he ended up changing his choreography that day, and maybe it went from like, hey, you got to do a 3 count combination to a 5 count, where originally I said, hey, let's just keep it at a 4. So obviously there's an extra punch in there, and I'm supposed to go this way, right? But then he's throwing the punch at the same time, boom, and I got hit. And it was funny because I haven't been hit in my face, Kim, for, oh my God, 30 years I've been hit in my face. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got hit, and I'm seeing the punch coming, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get hit, and I was just like, I was so mad at myself. But that was the moment on set that I felt so cool, because the director says, cut, Jesus, get Jose Ice. I need him, makeup, because he was afraid he didn't want my lip to blow up, right? Because we're in the middle of shooting. Can't fix it right then and there. Right. Thank God I didn't, nothing. I didn't get no mark, no nothing. But it was funny because I did feel like kind of important at that point. And the director was pissed. Oh my God, Jim was so mad because it was like, his guy getting hurt. And I started laughing. So my older son was part of the film. He plays Dimitri in the white suit. That's my oldest son, Ryan. And Ryan goes, hey, Grandmaster. He says, you know why you got hit? I said, why is that? And, me and my older son kind of joke around. He said, because you're not Grandmaster Torres anymore. You're Hollywood Torres. So Hollywood didn't know that he was supposed to block. And I said, what's funny is I said, I literally was like so conscious on the shot and what was going on. I didn't want to do another reaction. I just let it happen. And he was right. You know what I mean? But yeah. My older son was making fun of me. He said that was because I was Hollywood Jose, not Grandmaster Torres.
So word on the street, and I think you also have confirmed it, that there will be a Killer X2 somewhere down the pipeline.
Yes, there is. It's funny. There's been some rumbling, It's been dropped a couple times, but I'll take today to officially make the announcement, with you as this when this comes out is yes, Killer X2 is happening. We're looking to hopefully start shooting the summer of 2025 so that the movie comes out in 2026. So 2 years after the other one came out. That's kind of the model that we're following. We've done most of the casting. We got some heavy hitters that we're bringing aboard for this one. One of the guys I'm really excited to work with is an actor by the name of Silvio Simac. Silvio, if you remember, he played one of the bad guys in Jet Li's, I think it's Fearless. I think it's Fearless, where he has like the dog collar and then he has to fight. Maybe it's not Fearless, maybe it's a different one. He also played in John Wick. He was also with Jason Statham in one of the Transporters. And he also was with Scott Adkins in no, he was with Michael Jai White and Scott Adkins in Undisputed 2, I believe. He fought
Ooh.
Scott. Yeah. So Silvio's a very well-known guy. We're excited to work with him. As I told you, we're working on Hosek Pak is going to be involved with the film. Gerald
Ooh.
is coming back. Yeah. So we're really excited, man. We're gonna have a little bit of a flair to Killer X2. It's gonna be again a little bit of throwback to the old days, but kind of with a little bit of a new swing on it. So we're very excited.
With what you did in Killer X, and obviously what you probably learned from Killer X, what knowledge will you apply when you go into Killer X2? Like what are you going to implement?
One of the biggest things is just making sure to plan, right? Plan and prepare.
Mhm.
Because so many things happen because you could train and rehearse all this amount of time, but then, excuse my French, shit happens, right? Something
Yep.
happens, this person doesn't show up, this guy gets hurt this time. And I just think that we have to have more of a backup plan, right? So if phase one doesn't happen, we immediately go to phase two. We were not really prepared for that because again, it was the first one. And I didn't know really yet what my place was in the film, what to say, when to step in. The action for this one is definitely going to be more, it's going to be faster. I think the fight scenes are going to be a little more brutal. I think you're going to see more blood in this one. It's going to have more of that Hollywood type, and we're also going to have some guns. There'll be some gunplay in there. So it's
Right.
going to be cool. Yeah. We got like a jet ski scene, chase. So I'm excited. I'm excited. It's going to be some different things in Killer X2 that we did not have in Killer X1.
I know this might be unprofessional for me to say it, but I'm just going to shoot my shot, as they say. If you ever need somebody else to be in there, I'm your man.
All right, Kev, I got you, brother. I got you. Hey, man, we always need a few good guys. So we always need and you're in Maryland. We'll have to
Yes,
talk
sir.
afterwards. Absolutely. You know what? But it's so hard, Kim, because you never know. You have an idea that some person, hey, this is the guy I want for this. And
Right.
then they come and you're like, it's not working out the way that I want it. So you have to
Right.
pull somebody else in, and that's literally what happens. Originally we were going to use another guy to play Dimitri, but I said, hey, my older son has a big stature. I know how he works. He can fight. Let's put him in. And then we were going to cast a young boy from Philadelphia to play my son. But I said, why don't I put my regular son in it? He could do karate. So the boy that plays Max is actually my real son, Mason. So
Yeah.
I was able to get actually all three of my boys into the film, and again, learning who could do what, and trying to get them involved. So now my middle son will have a little bit bigger part, I think, in the second one.
So between being a grandmaster in Tong Sudo and being an actor in an action film, what's harder?
Oh man. I don't know. That's a loaded question. I will tell you this. The biggest thing that I learned at doing the movie was you can't do everything, right? You can't. It was so hard. The biggest thing I did is because I was a producer also, right? So
Yep.
I had my hands in everything because again, I wanted this film to be so good because again, we didn't have the manpower. So I got to focus on lines, my fight choreography, plus know your fight coordinator choreography, the other guy's fight coordinator, and making sure lunch shows up at 12. And did the bus show up with this? Way too much. That is something I don't want to do again. Not to that level because it's just too much. And I felt that, I'm hoping that Killer X2, I know it. I know my heart is going to be better. I think my character, Victor Reyes, is going to be so much better. He's going to grow. Even me, I've been training. I've been training a lot. I've changed my look a lot.
Mhm.
Because I want to be better. I want to explode on the screen. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Being a grandmaster and running a school, that's a whole other animal too. You know what I mean? It's hard grind, and always being on and being there for your students and motivating them. And grandmaster can't have a bad day. The instructor can't have a bad day. You gotta motivate the other people because they look forward. They might wait all day, all week to see you that one day that they come in to train. And little Tommy wants to tell you about his birthday and what happened in school. And that's what they look for. And so it's, as I told you, it's a loaded question. I don't know if I would pick one over the other. They each have their issues. You know what I mean? Both have their issues.
Okay, so we're going to say that you played the 50-50 card.
We did.
Nice. Well, this is the part of our podcast that I like to have all of my guests do. It's a tradition. We have a thing that we call the rapid fire, and I'm going to explain this for a lot of people here that may not know. The rapid fire, ladies and gentlemen, is a special challenge that I give to all of my guests that I basically ask. I ask the randomest questions. That could be true, false. It could be multiple choice. It could be fill in the blank. They could be realistic questions. They could be, questions that are filled with fantasy. Either way, it's just to, kind of open another side of my guests that, they never knew existed. So it's pretty cool. So I'll give like a couple of examples. If I asked who did it better in basketball between Michael Jordan and LeBron James, you might say, hey, Michael Jordan. I mean, 6 times he went to the NBA finals and all 6 times he won. Right. So I don't where's the debate? That's forever the GOAT.
Okay.
If I asked true or false that you are a fan of rom-com, which is romantic comedies, you might be like false, although it's kind of cool. I like traditional comedy, versus romantic comedy. Right. Or if I asked you something like, fill in the blank, the best part of my day is blank. And you could say, the best part of my day is when I get to go ahead and wake up every morning and I breathe that first breath.
Right. Yep. Okay. No problem.
So Grandmaster Torres, are you ready for the rapid fire challenge?
Yes, I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here, right now, that Grandmaster Jose Luis Torres II is about to take on the world famous rapid fire challenge, brought to you in part by the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. So let's go ahead and let's shoot it off. Here we go. In no particular order. Between the primary colors of yellow, red, and blue, my favorite color is
blue.
Okay. Favorite martial arts company?
Asian World of Martial Arts.
Okay. I got to give it to Asian World of Martial Arts. I like them. They're great people. Their online deals are amazing, especially if you do like the 50% off thing, and then when you actually pick it up in person, so you don't have to pay the extra freight charges.
Yep. They do have. I do have to give props though to my second favorite is Ringo Martial Arts, based out of North Jersey, with my buddy Victor Jung. They always bail me out of a lot of stuff. So I would say bigger commercial because Asian World is bigger, but Ringo Martial Arts as well. I have to give both of them.
Okay, very cool. What was your favorite moment? Competing in a martial art tournament before black belt, or competing in a martial art tournament at black belt?
Competing at black belt, because I felt there was more at stake.
Okay. Name a tournament that you went to that was like the furthest distance to wherever you lived.
Probably at that time would have been the USTU Junior Olympics in Orlando, Florida.
Wow. Okay. True or false? You have to be a specific age to train in the martial arts.
False. I think you
Okay.
can start training whenever. I think little babies can learn, or you could be 90 years old and start. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. If somebody actually wants to be your student at your martial arts school, what is the one piece of advice that you would give them before they even start?
Make sure they're ready to listen. They have to be
Okay.
a good listener. Yep, have to be a good listener.
Okay. If Jose Luis Torres II was not a grandmaster in the martial arts, meaning he was not even a martial artist at all, what do you think that he would be doing?
It's a tough one. I probably would be a chiropractor because that's what originally I went to Penn State for kinesiology, and I
Mm-hmm.
originally was going to go to Life Georgia Chiropractic School, but everything changed and I went a different career path. But yeah, I'd probably be a chiropractor. I think at this time we're working in the medical field.
Nice. Nice. Name a place that you enjoyed going to in your lifetime in terms of a vacation.
Um, Probably Disney. I always liked Disney because we didn't go there a lot as kids. So when I got to actually go there, it was always magical for me. So Disney World.
Nice. Favorite color on a car?
Black.
Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I
that
like that.
stealth mode.
Favorite NFL team?
Oh, the Eagles. Come on. I'm a Jersey guy, Philly. I like the Eagles. We're ready to go win the Super Bowl this year. Come on.
I mean, you got two teams ahead of you between the Vikings and the Lions. They're looking dangerous.
They are
I, I
looking dangerous, but Saquon, as long as Jalen Hurts comes back from his concussion, okay, we're all right. But if not, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do it. But the boys are looking strong right now. They just had a romping of Dallas this past weekend, and Saquon Barkley's looking good. So we'll see. We'll see.
I have to admit that Cowboys have definitely seen better days.
Oh my God, terrible.
It does.
Not the
I
Cowboys
feel
of the 90s. Not the Cowboys
I,
of the 90s.
I feel very bad for you Cowboys fans. I mean, luckily, I'm an AFC guy. My team's the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Um, you know, we'll see where we go from here, folks. I don't know. I'm hoping good stuff. I'm hoping good stuff as my fingers are crossed.
Right.
Let's see. If there was a sport that you like to that you enjoy watching and or playing, what sport would that be?
I was an avid soccer player, so I soccer. Yeah, soccer would be it. Soccer would be
Soccer
it.
would be it.
Yeah.
Favorite type of cuisine?
Pizza. Italian pizza. Love pizza.
You know what? I should have guessed because that was the official food on Killer X.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Um. Okay. Here's a good one. Favorite martial art movie of all time?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Um, I'd probably say I have a top three. I have a top
Okay.
three.
You can do
Uh,
three. You can do three.
I have to do a top three. So,
Oh,
as I told you earlier, Van Damme was my guy. So Bloodsport is a top three for me. I also loved Michael Dudikoff. American Ninja was a top one. And the other one is it's got two different names. It's called either Five Element Ninjas or Chinese Super Ninjas.
okay.
Absolutely favorite. That's an old, Shaw Brothers type film. I love that film. We haven't seen anything like that in a while with the different element ninjas and outfits and stuff like that. But those are my three all time for me. For me, those are my three all time.
All right. True or false? When it comes to the martial arts, kicking is kicking.
Um, I'm gonna say false. I'm gonna say false because I feel that depending on the different styles, kicks are thrown different, their chambers are different, the velocity, are they parrying, are they striking through, are they breaking? I don't think a kick is a kick. I think that adjective for a punch is a punch. Yeah, most punches, are thrown a specific way, but there's so many variations of kicks. I would say false in my opinion.
Okay. True or false? Um, obviously there is like Japanese style of karate. There's also like, the Korean style of karate. At one point, I've heard somebody actually say it doesn't matter if it's a Japanese style of karate or a Korean style of karate. Karate is karate. Do you believe that karate is karate? True or false?
I think that I'll say true karate is karate because I think that uh, they all come through base. So, like as a total pseudo practitioner, we do our chops different than traditional Shotokan. We do our kicks, but it's still kind of the same basis, right? You know,
Mhm.
versus the Shotokan will do the chop across. Korean does it in more of a circular motion. You know, but again, it's this chop, right? It's the chop. It's a different execution of it, but the end result is still the same thing. That does kind of differ from what I said from the kicks, but I think that some of the techniques are very, very similar, and I feel like yes, there is some minor details, but karate is karate. Like you can look because you could be a Korean stylist and you'll recognize what some of the Shotokan is doing, as well as a Shotokan practitioner can look at one of the Basai Dai or Jindo or one of the other Korean forms and they'll say, oh wait, that's our Kanku Dai or that's this or that's that. So yeah, I think karate. When you remove all the other pretty things that are with it, I think it's the same. True.
Okay. This is a two-part question. Name your favorite non-black belt Hyung, and then name your favorite black belt Hyung.
Mm. I'd probably say favorite would be Pian Chodon. Pian Chodon. It's more of an orange belt form. A lot of students will do the first green belt one, but Pian Chodon.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and then probably Gion. Gion is one of my favorite. Yeah, yeah. I like to do that one in competition. That's that. I like that one the best, probably. Yeah, yeah, I do.
Okay. If um if you knew then what you know now, what would you tell your younger self when it came to the martial arts?
It's funny because I think that we, always wish, oh, I wish I could have went back in time. I wish of this. But it's funny, I'll be humble enough to say I don't know if I would have warned myself or try to help because then I wouldn't be who I am today. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
wouldn't have went through the struggle the way that I did. I wouldn't be talking to you today. I never would have made Killer X. I never would have done these things because if I would have said, "Hey, let me focus more on fighting," or "Hey, let me try to go for the national team for Taekwondo," or "Hey, let me do this," that path totally goes in a different route, and I feel I would have been off the path that I am today. You know what I mean? I mean, I think I would have told to appreciate my experience a little bit more because I realize now, being 47, how precious those moments are. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times I think as we're older now, I remember back like, oh man, I remember that time or, when this happened or when that happened, but that shaped me onto who I am now. So I don't know if I would necessarily warn or try to change, but I would just try to maybe just tell them to say, hey, just pay attention a little bit more and really appreciate it and live through the moment a little bit better, and appreciate it. Because I feel like there were certain things I went through so fast that now I wish I had a second chance to kind of like, appreciate it a little bit more,
yeah, yeah. If there was a list martial arts actor that you would love to work with on the big screen in terms of like a major Hollywood movie
Mm.
feature, who would be that one A-lister martial arts actor?
A-lister martial arts actor. Oh man, I would probably say I gotta give a top three on that one too. I gotta give a
Okay.
top three on that
Yeah.
one.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
All right. Jason Statham. I like Jason
Oh,
Statham. I think he's done amazing. Donnie Yen. I like Donnie. I think Donnie's amazing. And last one, I don't know if he's a A-lister anymore, but just for the nostalgia of it would be Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, just to say to do a movie with him one time. But yeah, I would probably say those top two would be Donnie Yen and Jason Statham. Those two. Yeah, they've been amazing. Yep.
okay. Cool. Opinions on Jackie Chan.
He's probably like number four. He's probably number four for me. I love Jackie. I love what his character has changed into now, right? He's playing that older man now.
Yep.
He's more seasoned, and I think he's grown into that very, very well. You know, I'd be honored to work with him as well. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him. Would love to meet him. I hear nothing but good things about him. There has been some celebrities that I've met that are not the nicest people, so I don't care to really chit chat with them anymore. But overall, yeah, Jackie's up there. He's on my Mount Rushmore as well. Yeah.
When it was all said and done with Killer X, you being the lead actor, what did you learn about your acting?
That was not the first time that I acted, and I had spoken about this before. I had did school plays. I've been part of musicals. I sang before. I did do some theater classes at Penn State, so it wasn't the first time. And I felt pretty confident, honestly. I did in regards that I could deliver it. It's just I didn't know what other people were gonna, perceive me as on the screen. But I definitely felt okay. I understand this. I think I can do more with this, which is why I'm excited to do more projects. But I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable in my skin, and I tried to bring, the best that I could at that time to the character of Victor Reyes.
Nice. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now in the terms of being a martial artist, a martial arts school owner, and being an actor?
I would say within the next 10 years, what I'm hoping to do is kind of transition away from the day-to-day of the karate school. I've already started positioning my oldest son because he is a fourth down master now. So he's kind of teaching, a lot of the classes and hopefully kind of transitioning the school to him and to the boys, which would then allow me to, develop more the other projects that I have. And even for acting at 47, I don't know how much time I have to be able to do, a lot of the action films. Hopefully I can get a couple more action films under my belt and kind of build something. I really think with the way the technology is now, I feel in my heart I can kind of recreate what was done, in the 80s with those direct to, movies to VHS. I think we can kind of do the same thing, and I can build off of what we did with Killer X. So, hopefully in 10 years, we got about 10 films under our belt, and we're helping the next group of people to come. I would love to be able to establish some type of independent film company that I can get the next martial artist or the next young talent that can come up and help them in a way that I wasn't helped. But that's definitely the project that I have kind of 10 years from now. That's what I want to kind of move forward to.
Nice. If somebody was going to be testing for their first degree black belt, and they were talking to you, asking you for advice, what advice would you give that prospective candidate that's going to be testing for their first degree black belt?
I would just make sure that, what I mean, they clear their mind, they're ready to go that day. They've been training hard, because I think a lot of times what kids do and people in general is we don't put that preparation in, right? We don't do that work. That at a black belt test, they're going to work you harder than what you do during class. They're going to test your physical endurance. They're going to test your hand techniques. They know you're going to test your fighting. So you need to be training to get yourself ready for that moment so that you seize that moment and you do the best. If you're training hard prior to the test, then when they push you, you're going to be fine. If you haven't pushed yourself prior to the test, you're going to have a hard time. That's when people start making mistakes. That's when people get tired. That's when people emotionally lock themselves out, is because mentally they're not prepared and physically they're not prepared. So I really think that they have to get themselves ready.
Right on. Got a couple of more questions. Apple or Android?
I'm an Android. I'm the only Android user in my family. They take the best pictures.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, you know what?
Kim, my wife will say it's because she can't track me because everybody else got the iPhones. I'm the only outside of the family, but I am a devout Android user, and I love my Samsung camera. That's all I'm going to say.
I will have to say this. And you're speaking here to a guy that has it has an iPhone. I will give them credit. When you take a photo, it is clear and it is really good. When you take that video, the resolution feels like it's beyond 4K. It feels like it's 8K.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, I'm like, holy crap. Like, look at this thing. This is incredible. This is incredible. Wow. Okay. Hey, I didn't, hey, who would have thought? Who would have thought? I didn't know that you were an Android guy, but hey, that's okay though. That's okay.
Yeah.
I am
don't
going
hold
to
it against me, Kim. Don't hold it against me.
Oh, never that, sir. Never that. No, nothing but love and respect. Nothing but love and respect. We just might have differences of opinion, but that it's just nothing but love and respect.
I got you.
I'm going to borrow this one from a good friend of mine, fellow podcaster Brian Doucette, who has a podcast called Everyday Martial Artist Podcast. He has a question that I'm going to borrow because I think it's the greatest question of them all, where Mount Rushmore is a monument in the Dakotas where you see 4 historic presidents or forefathers of the United States of America. If you could build your own Mount Rushmore of martial artists that should be like, I guess you could just say at the upper echelon of excellence to where their face is on that Mount Rushmore, who would be the 4 martial artists on that Mount Rushmore?
I think that you got to have Bruce Lee, and without Bruce, I don't think there's the craze of what has happened with the industry of martial arts and acting and movies and everything. I mean, he was the first one. I think you got to give kudos and give your flowers to Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris did a great, phenomenal job. They're the first 2, that I feel they're the GOATs. They are literally, the greatest of all time. No one's done it like them. I don't know if anybody's going to have the impact that Bruce had, legendary. I mean, he's been passed for so long and there's still things happening. Chuck is still kicking. And I had the pleasure of meeting Chuck a couple of years ago at one of his boot galas. That was a fundraiser. I went with Rommel. The next 2, oh man, because it's like, is it just strictly martial arts? Am I going to throw acting in it? Because both of those guys were great martial artists. I gotta tell you, I think at that one, I think Jackie Chan's got to be up there. Jackie's a phenomenal martial artist, and then that final spot, man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because I think again, I love Donnie Yen. I think Jet Li, Jet Li's a phenomenal martial artist. I think Scott Atkins is a great martial artist. Van Damme, I think, was bigger. His celebrity status in movies bigger than his martial arts, but phenomenal kicker. I think one of the best kickers we've ever seen at that time, the helicopter kick. That last spot, influential guys though. Like I said, Jason Statham, I talked about him already. It's a tough one. It really, really is. That last spot is a tough one. I don't know who I would carve on that one. That might be like a question mark. I don't even know, man. But I know, like I said, Bruce, Chuck, Jackie, and then the last one between Donnie Yen, Jet Li, Jason Statham. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. It really, really is. Martial arts wise, it's you probably could put Ron Van Cleef up there. You could put real guys, real martial arts, not just actor guys. Royce Gracie, he was phenomenal. What he's done for the industry. It's a tough one. I don't have a definitive answer for that last one.
All right, so we'll just put to be determined for the next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a fun one. You literally get an invitation to go over to a very prestigious restaurant where it's a 3-star James Beard award-winning restaurant, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm coming over. You come over and you notice that your name's on the table, but there's 3 available spots. Now, here's where it gets tricky. With those 3 available spots, who would you invite? And here are the conditions. They could be somebody that you know personally. They could be somebody that you don't know personally. They could be somebody that is famous. They could be somebody that's like an everyday average Joe. They could be somebody that is alive with us today, or somebody that's passed on. Who would fill those 3 spots?
I'm very big family. So I would have to, if it's present, it would be my wife and my kids. Only problem is I have to figure out one of the boys is not coming because I have three boys. So I'd have to figure out who's not coming. If I was able to bring someone back for the pass, again, my wife would still be there, but I probably would have my mom and dad come. I think that that's something I would want them to experience. Um, if I had the opportunity to bring a celebrity, um, I am a huge fan. I would love to just talk because again, getting this more acting now, two of my favorite actors. I like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he's amazing. And
Hmm.
Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is my guy, man. I love
Okay. Yep. Yep.
that would be someone I would love to just sit down and just talk to one day and just pick his brain. Those are the two people that I really respect in that industry. They're phenomenal, generational. I don't think we've seen anybody like them. But Denzel's my guy. He's just amazing. But yeah, if it could be celebrities, I would say those two. From the past, my mom and dad, and then my wife, obviously, straight through, and then the boys. I just gotta let them figure out what two are coming out of the three. But probably my youngest won't want to come because he'll want to play video games. So we might be okay. He'll be all right not wanting to come.
Nice. We just got three more questions.
Yep.
Between Nike, Adidas. Actually, let me restate that. Between Nike, Adidas, Reebok, and Under Armour, who did it better?
I would probably say Nike then Adidas. I think that's the hierarchy for me. I know Under Armour's doing really good now, and they came out of nowhere out of Maryland, but I think I would say Nike. I think Nike, and then followed by Adidas.
Okay. Okay. Um, if you had an opportunity to train in another martial art, what would it be?
Hmm. My top two picks would be actually both Brazilian. I would love to do Brazilian capoeira. I would love to actually formally be trained. A good friend of mine actually teaches it. He's been trying for years to get me, but he's like, 30, 40 minutes from me, and I don't have that luxury to go out to come back. But
Yep.
Brazilian capoeira and probably Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. Probably those two. Yeah.
Nice. And last question, when it's all said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave out in the world?
I think my biggest thing is to empathy, and to care for people and to be there for people and give people opportunities, to have the empathy that not everybody has that same, afforded that same opportunity that we are. Not everybody has good health, not everybody has good relationships with people, having that empathy and just giving them, their time to shine as well. And I think helping others is kind of the legacy that I want to live, that I was there for people, I talked to them, I listened to their problems, and I tried my best to help them and inspire them to do better.
Well, I have to say, sir, you actually handled the rapid fire very well. You were definitely cool as a cucumber, and it was like grace under fire. Like, it was just another day in the office for you. So, job well done. That was really spot on.
Thank you so much. You're
Yes,
easy to
sir.
talk to, though. You're easy to talk to, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? It's one of those things where, like, as a podcaster, I really want to treat my guests like if it was like the neighbor next door that I grew up with years, for years, and make them feel comfortable and not kind of be like overbearing and stuff like that. Because I've seen and heard some podcast shows and heard the interviews, and it just goes down south like really quick, and I'm just like, Lord, what were you thinking? Holy
Right.
holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you tried to pilot a jet engine going from New York to Washington, DC with only one good engine. That's a bad idea. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, I always try to, make my guests feel like, they're at home, my home is their home, and, to make them feel as comfortable as they can, because that's when they shine the best, I think.
Yeah, I think you have a warm reception for everyone the way you speak, and I wish you the very, very best with your show. I think you're going to do great things, and you're going to keep getting bigger guests, and it's just going to snowball from there. So I wish you the best as well. I appreciate everything.
I hope so. Thank you, sir. Like, I mean, hey, 4 seasons in, I mean, we must be doing something right,
Right.
So,
That's right.
it can only get bigger from here. I mean, we're hoping. Praise the Lord.
That's right. That's right.
So this is the part of the show where I, let my guests go ahead and take time to, have their moment, whether if they want to talk about the next project that they're working on, if they want to, commercialize, any, businesses or like their social medias, or if they want to give a quick shout out and recognition. So I'm going to give you the platform right now. I'm going to step away from the limelight for a second, let you say whatever you want to say, because this is your moment. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to step out and the floor is now yours.
Well, first, I want to thank all of your viewers and everyone for tuning in and taking the time to listen to this. And I want to wish Kim, some most success. And, I have the utter respect for him. This is a great show. We're in a really blessed position right now. I'm so excited. We're working next couple of weeks. We'll be starting on a new crime drama pilot that we're going to be filming. Our hopes is to put it into some short film festivals and actually get it out there to see if we can, pitch it. It's called City of Honor, and I'm going to be playing a detective who's a single father with a daughter, and kind of navigating through the daily life. So that's my next project, and then Killer X2 this summer. For the acting thing, and we're kind of seeing where this goes. So I'm really, really excited. For everyone, if you could take the time, please take a look at Killer X. It's available on all these various platforms. You could do a quick search on it. If you can, make sure, visit the IMDb, help us with the ratings. Obviously when you click on the names, things help with the algorithm. If you could leave us a good review for the movie, that would be amazing. Even a bad review, whatever you feel that you want to do. But we're really, really proud of what we did. And we hope that you'll come on the Killer X journey with us, because our goal is to do a trilogy. So 2020, this next 2025, we're going to start filming Killer X2 and bring out, hopefully drop it on 2026. And then the next thing will be start filming the next one. And then in 2028, finish up with the trilogy of Killer X. I think the Killer X could be a whole universe. I think there could be a lot of offshoot movies and things that can happen. And we could just go from up, go up with the project. So I want to thank everybody for listening today and your support. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Jose Luis Torres II, the official, on Facebook, on YouTube. All of our stuff's under Martial Arts Experience, and that's with an X. That's also our podcast as well. And obviously, Killer X. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. All I have to say, Grandmaster Torres, it has been an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I definitely learned a lot, as, not only as a podcaster, but also as, a fellow actor and a martial artist. And I definitely believe that, it's one of those things where, no matter where you put yourself into, no matter what the art is, whether if it's a martial art or a creative art, whatever it is that you do, if you just, put your mind into it, you definitely can accomplish it. You just got to take that first step. And I just want to, thank you for giving me that lesson and that reminder, because that's something that I feel like I need to remind myself every day. And I think that's very important. So, much love and respect to you, much continued success. If you ever want to, come back again to our podcast and run it back, you're more than welcome to. We'll leave the skeleton key right there on the table for you. Just enter through the back door and just say, let's do it again. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
I appreciate that. My honor, Kim. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And, again, I wish you much success with your podcast show. And, absolutely, I'd be honored to come back and I'm blessed for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be doing it for here. Let's go ahead and try to do the closing, segue moments of the show, the closing notes. You would think after like 4 seasons, we got this down to a science. We don't. We really don't. So let's just go ahead and do it real quick. You can find me over on Facebook. Search box, go under the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Follow us, and you'll know what we're doing, and we'll follow you back. Obviously, social media, we got that. We are on Twitter, now known as X, and Instagram. Follow me at TKHPC Experience, all in one word, all lowercase letters, no spacing. Follow us, and we'll follow you back. We are on 5 different podcasting platforms up the wazoo. Ladies and gentlemen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are on Amazon Music. We're also on YouTube Music. And we are on Audible, powered by Amazon, which is not only a podcasting platform, but an audiobook platform. And right now, Audible has a great deal right now that if you want to be a member of Audible and you want to check it out, they have a 7-day free trial membership. Go to audible.com, check it out, sign up. If you like it, you can keep the membership. It's $15 a month. If for some reason you go on the 6th day and you don't like it, you can always cancel it, and then there will be no financial obligations or loss. You can just say you tried it and it didn't work. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on all of those aforementioned podcasting platforms. And please do us a favor. If you have Spotify, please give us a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcast, please give us a 5-star ranking and a positive written review, because the purpose behind that is that the more times that we get those positive written reviews, then our podcast goes into the front of the class. And then somebody could be like, oh my gosh, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I think I remember Joseph telling me the other day that he heard that and it was amazing. Maybe we should like it and subscribe to it and give it a chance. Yes, yes, and yes. Also, please tell your friends, your family members, or your coworkers, either in person or through social media, because in the business, it's called brand awareness. Sharing is caring. And last but not least, if you want to be a special guest on my podcast show, or if you want to be a special guest host, if you have any constructive criticism, or in the moments where you catch me doing a solo episode, if you have any questions for our Q&A forum, please email me, thekimhoangpodcastexperience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it in the subject box. In the middle of the body of the email, write your email and send it out. And within 1 or 2 days, I'll read it and I'll respond back, because I do like that type of communication. That being said, guys, it has been an honor and a pleasure to do this. I mean, if I wasn't so, fired up before, I'm fired up right now. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad because we've just reached the end of this interview. My goodness. But it's okay. 2025, it's a new year. It's a brand new start. Like I said before, let's enter it in the right way, in the positive way. And just know that, we love and care about you guys. We want you to be in a good position and in a safe position. It doesn't do us any good if you do anything unsafe and you land in a pine box and get buried 6 feet under. We don't want that to happen. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be in a good mental mind space, because you deserve it. And anybody else that tells you you don't deserve it, you can tell them to go kick rocks, go the other way, and just, get away from the danger. You know what I mean? Don't need to be there. Like Mr. Miyagi said in, the Karate Kid Part 2, best line of defense, no be there. And, Pat Morita, I love you, man. God rest your soul. So for the one time here over in the Prototype Studio in Wheaton, Maryland, not far from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, for my special guest, Grandmaster Jose Luis Torres II. This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. I go by many monikers. I am the man with the plan. I am the guy that, the voice with the choice. I have the power, and I can bring it less than an hour, telling you guys, I love you guys. Be safe. Do your thing. Make good choices. And we're going to do it again. And as long as I have air in my lungs, and if you guys still want me to do more podcasts, I'm going to keep doing it for you guys until I can't anymore. So for the one time, this is your boy, Kim Hoang, your host, saying thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're going to catch you on the next one. 2025. It's going to be a beautiful year, guys. Don't think any different. Enter it with an open mind and an open heart and a lot of love and respect. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, y'all. It's been fun. Peace.